Chapter 902. Yu Hua and Brett nodded their heads. They are indeed very bad, they are even worse than their son. Humph, Yi Yezi snorted, she decided to teach them a lesson later. Who do you guys think will win? Let's start the match, Qing Yutong laughed lightly. It should be that Bao Pe, his strength seems to be slightly stronger. Yu Hua said softly. The difference was right there, so it was easy to tell. Yu Hua's words obtained the agreement of the 5 women. If the difference in strength was close, then it would be hard to tell. But the distance between the 2 of them was a bit far, so it was not hard to tell. Even Pai Pai knew this, the difference between him and Bao Po was right there, but no matter what, he still had to try his best. After all, there were so many people watching. It was fine to lose face in front of his brothers, but he definitely could not lose face in front of his father. After all, if he lost face today, he would become the joke of the entire Water City. Even if he lost face today, he had to lose with honor. Pai Pai, you are not my opponent, if you surrender, you will be spared from the pain of your flesh. Bao Pe did not even take out his weapon, it could be seen how much he looked down on Pai Pai. In Bao Po's heart, he did not need to use his weapon to win against Pai Pai. It was the same even if he was against the other 4, if the 5 of them came together, he would have to use his weapon. But right now, there was really no need for that. Pai Pai took out his sword, it was that sword that was smeared with poison. To be able to poison Yang Haoyan, that kind of Jizun, it could be seen how vicious the poison on the sword was. This poison was refined from the most poisonous creature in the underwater world, it was very precious. So if Pai Pai wanted to win now, he had to use his sword to stab. Even if it was just for a moment. Bao Po was very strong, this poison might not be able to make him stay in a stalemate for a long time, but even if it was just for a few seconds, he still had a chance to win. This was Pai Pai's strategy. Use your weapon. Pai Pai shouted in a low voice. Bao Pe smiled slightly and said, I don't need a weapon to deal with you. Such hurtful words, but Bao Pe still said it. This made Pai Pai very angry. As long as you let my sword touch you, I will make you pay the price. Bao Yuyu, who was sitting on the audience seat, asked softly, Husband, do you think Big Brother will win? Of course, Big Brother is a rank 8 Dozun. Dealing with a rank 2 Dozun is just a matter of waving his hand. Qi Shuwen also thought this way. There was no suspense unless Pai Pai had purposely suppressed his strength and chose to erupt at this moment. If he was only a rank 2 Dozun, he would definitely lose today. Yes, I think so too. Her brother was so strong, and her father was also so strong. When her husband grew up, he would also be very strong. She was truly blessed. As the fight between the 2 began, the excited audience stood up and shouted. The blue veins on their necks looked as if they were about to burst. It was a shocking sight. Bao Pe, since you underestimated me, I will make you pay the price. Pai Pai angrily shouted as he brandished the sword in his hand in a strange and unpredictable manner. Bao Pe said indifferently, to be honest, I don't think that's necessary. At the very least, I should give you some leeway. Watch my sword. Leather suddenly stabbed out with his sword, and the entire deep sea arena was illuminated by the sword light. With one look, one could tell that this sword was not an ordinary item. Not bad, you've improved, but you're still too far away. Bao Po's voice came from behind Pai Pai. Pai Pai's expression darkened as he instantly felt a loud sound coming from his back. His body immediately flew out and smashed into a stone pillar beside him. Boom, boom, boom. The huge stone pillar suddenly collapsed and fell into the magma, instantly disappearing without a trace. The audience was silent. These 2 had just started fighting, and Pai Pai was already at a disadvantage. He was even sent flying with a kick. It felt good to ruin the scene. It felt good in any way. Of course, it was by shouting loudly. The entire deep sea arena was filled with loud cheers. Even Kai Yun shouted excitedly. This kind of fight was suitable for him. He really wanted to go up and play with them. Kai Yun was referring to the three old men in the air and not anyone else. House Leader Pai, looks like it's still not enough. Please forgive me. Bao Ci began to show off. His son was really proud. Pai Liang Jun said in a deep voice, "Humph. The difference in strength is right there, what's there to be happy about? Strength is also obtained through cultivation. My pu'er is extremely hard-working. As for those two sons of yours, if they cultivated like my pu'er, how could they be so weak right now?" Bao Ci boasted once more. His sons were just tools for him to brag about his own abilities. Humph. Pai Liang Jun snorted and didn't say anything. How could he not know what his two sons were like? So embarrassing. Kong Fei Qing didn't say anything because if he did, the result would be the same. His two sons weren't his match either. In the arena, Pai Pai steadied himself and stared at Bao Pe. Bao Pe stood with his hands behind his back and looked mysterious. Pai Pai, admit defeat. This is the best result for you. Don't even think about it. Pai Pai shouted angrily. It was absolutely impossible for him to admit defeat. Heaven Sealing Ghost Chart, Black Coffin. Pai Pai formed a seal with both hands and a huge amount of battle energy spread out from his body. Bao Pe smiled as he looked at Pai Pai. However, at this moment, a black shadow appeared around Bao Pe and sealed him. With the speed of Pai Pai's hand seals, the black shadow quickly formed and sealed Bao Pe in an instant. Chapter 903. This clear and crisp sound seemed to stab into everyone's heart. Everyone knew very well what this black coffin represented. But now, it had been pierced by a finger. How was this possible? Pai Pai, I really didn't expect that you even managed to successfully cultivate the black coffin, and you even used the strength of a second rank. What a pity, this black coffin can only unleash 20% of its strength, you are just drawing a calabash, that's all. After Bao Po's words stopped, Bao Pe could be seen using one of his hands to slap the black coffin, and the black coffin turned into black stars and disappeared. Pai Pai's heart sank. He did not expect that it would still not work. He had forcibly released the black coffin, but it had not reached that level of power. Just as Bao Pe had said, it was just a drawing of a gourd. But even if it was just a drawing, Bao Pe was actually quite surprised. Do you think you can draw this black coffin just like that? If you don't have the least bit of talent, how can you do such a thing? Leather's potential was much greater than that of his two brothers. At this moment, Bao Ci smiled and said, "What a pity, this black coffin still can't hurt my Pierre." Hee, can your lousy son release the black coffin at the second grade? Pai Liang Jun emphasized the word lousy. Just like your lousy son. Son. At this time, Kong Fei Qing said something fair. Actually, Pai Pai being able to unleash a move like Black Coffin at the second level already means that he has a lot of potential. House Leader Pai, please take good care of him. He'll become someone great in the future. Pai Liang Jun also smiled and said, the two young masters of Clan Head Kong are not bad either. Humph. Bao Ci snorted. Not bad my ass. The five women also felt sorry for Pippi. In fact, they felt that Pippi was a good person. At least he helped them. Although he couldn't resist the temptation in the end and did something bad, he was instigated by someone else. Therefore, the five women still hoped that Leather could win. After all, it was meaningless to stand up in a one-sided battle. But from the looks of it, this Bao Po was even more powerful. If Pai Pai didn't have a trump card, he would be in danger. At this moment, Bao Po said lightly, Pai Pai, just admit defeat. There won't be any results if you keep fighting like this. Bullsh *t. Stubborn fool. Then let me show you what a real black coffin is. After saying that, Baopa quickly formed a black void around Pai Pai. His speed was even faster than Pai Pai's. Heavenly Sealing Ghost Chart, Black Coffin. Baopa angrily shouted, completing the final hand seal. Looking at Baopa's black coffin, it gave off a thick deathly aura. Whether it was color or luster, it was definitely more amazing than the black coffin from before. Even their size had to be bigger. Hurry up and tell your son to admit defeat. Otherwise, he's going to die. Kong Feiqing hurriedly said. This black coffin was not a joke. If it was sealed for too long, it would cause death. Pai Liangjun clenched his fists tightly. Asking his son to admit defeat. Wouldn't that be asking the entire house Pai to surrender? Bao Xi smiled but did not say anything. Beg me then. If you beg me, I will release your son. Looking at the lifeless black coffin, Pai Liangjuan's face darkened. Third bro. Fight for your father's honor. The entire scene quieted down. Everyone stared at the floating coffin, wondering if House Pai's third brother would be able to escape. If he broke free, it would be a slap to his face. If he couldn't break free, then House Pai would lose face today. Although Pai Ching and Pai Guanghui were separated from their third brother, at this moment, they still revealed a worried expression. After all, they were brothers. It was fine if they quarreled internally, but when they were outside, they had to be united against external enemies. Third bro. Do your best. The two brothers shouted in their hearts. Qing Yutong was also anxious. Didn't you know how to use your brain? You even kneeled down to Yang Haotian before, now you should also kneel down and listen to your father. As time passed, everyone sighed. This Pai would rather die than surrender. As expected, he is a man. Of course, Baopa did not want to kill Pai, after all, it was not good. But just now, his father told him not to break free, so he could only wait. Bao Xi silently waited for Pai Liangjun to come and beg for mercy. Pai Liangjun was already running out of patience. The more time passed, the more dangerous his third brother would be. I can't wait any longer. Pai Liangjun looked towards Bao Xi. Bao Xi did not even look at him and pretended to look at the scene. However, Pai Liangjun's hands began to slowly raise, as if he wanted to cup his hands, but when his hands were raised in mid-air, a voice rang out. This caused Pai Liangjun's heart to sink. This also caused Bao Xi to be shocked. How is this possible? Heavenly Sealing Ghost Chart, Anita. A strange voice rang out from within the black coffin. This caused everyone's expression to change. Even the three old men were the same, and in their minds, the word, lunatic appeared. Even if you beat Baopa to death, this Pai actually dared to use an Ata. This is something that only a 9th rank Do Zun can release. This fellow has surpassed his rank again. Does he not know the price of using an Ata? Could it be that you have a grudge against me for killing your father? Or is it because you stole my wife? You must be sick. Pai Ching and Pai Guanghui had stupefied expressions on their faces. Third brother's performance today simply caused everyone to be dumbstruck, unimaginable. Looking at the Kong brothers at the side, they were the same as well. Do you really have a grudge against Baopa for you to actually use an Ata? My God, you are truly crazy. This move seems to be very powerful. Kai Yun suddenly laughed and said. He could feel that the aura within the black coffin was gradually rising, and it was very powerful. Yi Zizi also withdrew her smile and said in a low voice, indeed, this whatever an Ata is very powerful. Brett's gaze gradually sunk. This kind of skill is very powerful, and it can even be compared with my own. This water city is really a pleasant surprise. Prehistoric divine beast, prehistoric ferocious beast, Tian class skill, it is still quite powerful. We have to reevaluate the strength of this water city. Qing Yutong said in a deep voice. If even a Pai could use an Ata, then what kind of situation would it be like for 3 Jizun to use an Ata? Furthermore, under the situation of using an Ata, would it still be possible to superimpose other skills? At this moment, Qi Shuwen asked curiously, Sharky, does this Anatta have any side effects? Abeo Yu nodded his head, heavenly sealing ghost chart, Anatta. It requires a 9th rank Dozun to activate. Once this skill is activated, one's strength will rise exponentially. I have never seen it that strong. This is the first time I have seen someone use Anatta, and the side effect is to drop 1 rank. Now, Pai is a 2nd rank Dozun. After using it, he will be a 1st rank Dozun. Speaking until this point, Abeo Yu sighed softly, this Pai is really stupid. He wants to save face and suffer. It is obvious that he cannot defeat my brother, yet he insists on using an Ata to fight my brother. Qi Shuwen knocked Abeo Yu's pink forehead, are you stupid? He also wants to force your brother to use an Ata, intending to injure both sides. Chapter 904. Qi Shuwen smiled. What was there to be shameless about? What he did just now was shameless. This was a fight, after all. It was a competition of a man's dignity. It could only be said that House Pai's 3rd son wanted his face a lot, but he was suffering. Winning would bring glory to his face, but his strength would drop by 1 level. Was it really worth it? Maybe to Qi Shuwen, it wasn't worth it, but to Pai, this represented the house master's dignity, and also his own glory. Even if he had to sacrifice his life, he wouldn't hesitate. If a person didn't have faith, he would be no different from a salted fish. This was the first time Pai used an Ata in the black coffin. He felt like his entire body was filled with strength. As his strength increased, Pai felt like he could even smash the sky. This was a feeling he had never felt before. It was like he had control over everything. As for how strong he was, Pai didn't feel it anymore. He just felt like he could kill this trash Bao Pa now. Suddenly, Pai raised the sword in his hand, raised it up high, and then slashed down. A crescent-shaped black light emitted from the sword. The black coffin couldn't withstand it at all and instantly disintegrated. Seeing such a scene, everyone was dumbfounded. The leather in the black coffin had actually directly cut open the black coffin. What kind of strength did he need? Bao Pa was shocked as well. Especially that terrifying black sword energy, it was filled with a strange aura. At this moment, Bao Pa had no choice but to take out his weapon. It was also a long sword. When the long sword flashed, a majestic aura suddenly swept out. The body of the sword was emitting specks of starlight. It looked very ordinary, but when it first appeared, it was obvious. This was a prehistoric godly weapon. 7 ministers. Although it was a prehistoric godly weapon, it was still divided into different grades. After all, not every prehistoric godly weapon that was created was godly. According to this standard, the sword in Bao Pa's hand was a 3rd-grade prehistoric godly weapon. But even the worst prehistoric godly weapon was still a godly weapon that people would fight over. After all, it was too rare. When the 7 ministers appeared, Qing Yutong and the others were slightly dazed. I didn't expect that there would even be a prehistoric godly weapon, Brett said indifferently, but he didn't put it in his eyes at all because it was trash. Qing Yutong smiled, it is indeed a bit surprising. The guards standing around had a puzzled look on their faces. Were these 5 women crazy? It seemed that she had already hinted at her own outcome. It was a pity that such a beautiful woman had turned into a lunatic. Pai Liangjun lost his composure and said in a deep voice, "You even gave me the great desolate era's divine weapon, break. Son. So what? If I didn't give my son to you, who would?" Bao Ci said calmly. "Are you guys stupid? Do you dare to give your son a primordial divine weapon? You can't bear to part with it, can you?" At this moment, Kong Feiqing spoke in a faint voice, "Even with a chaos divine weapon, it is unlikely that your broken son can win. This leather likely possesses the strength of a peak dozun." Bao Ci snorted lightly, "So what? This isn't his true strength. He will still suffer from the backlash. The gains do not make up for the losses. As for my pu'er, with the help of the ancient divine weapon, he can still win." Hee hee. Pai Liangjun chuckled. "Dog." Pai Liangjun took a deep breath as he stared at OL3. Now that he had used selfless, there was no turning back. Fight hard for House Pai. Qi Shuwen also looked at the 7 ministers with envy. This chaos divine weapon really made people envious. It wasn't just Qi Shuwen who envied it, everyone was envious. This was a chaos divine weapon, holding it in one's hand was a symbol of strength. It was said that a powerless person could kill a Do Wang with a chaos divine weapon. "You, do you also have a chaos divine weapon?" Qi Shuwen asked curiously. If his son had one, then his most beloved daughter should have one too. Yu didn't hide it and said softly, "I do, but I have no use for it." "I'll give it to you, okay?" Qi Shuwen was overjoyed. He almost said yes, but he quickly stopped. "How can that be? This is your thing. You have to take good care of it." Qi Shuwen said in a deep voice as if he didn't want it. "Husband, we are husband and wife. Isn't my thing yours? I don't need it anyway. It's better for you to use it." Yu said happily. Qi Shuwen said sternly, "Am I that kind of person? Don't say such things again. Otherwise, I will get angry." Although he said that, he was thinking in his heart, "If you say a few more words, I will reluctantly agree." Hurry up, Moto. "Okay then, husband, you have to work hard in the future." Qi Shuwen was speechless. Qi Shuwen wanted to slap himself. Who asked you to act cool? Now, he didn't want a chaos divine weapon that was delivered to his door. He was such an idiot. "Of course, I have to rely on my own strength." Qi Shuwen clenched his fists and said. He was a man who worked hard. Looking at Qi Shuwen's hard work, Yu was very happy. His fighting spirit was not bad. So she shyly kissed him and immediately hid in Qi Shuwen's chest, not daring to look at him. Qi Shuwen wanted to die. He could have gotten a chaos divine weapon, but he got a kiss in exchange. What a loss. Bao Pe, who took out the chaos divine weapon, had his confidence greatly boosted. Looking at the crescent of black light that was coming towards him, Bao Pe immediately slashed out with his sword. As expected of a chaos divine weapon, the crescent of black light disappeared without a trace, as if the crescent of black light had never appeared in the first place. Bao Pe had a smile of disdain on his face, seemingly feeling that Pai Pai was still unable to withstand a single blow. Following the dissipation of the black coffin, Pai Pai's figure finally appeared. Everyone was shocked by Pai Pai's outfit. Leather's silver armor had turned black. Even the blade of the sword had turned black. However, on top of the black armor, there seemed to be some kind of black flame burning, causing everyone to shiver. Looking at Pai Pai's appearance, Bao Po's mind was filled with question marks. Is this the appearance of an Ata? Kai Yin cried out in surprise, "So handsome, indeed very handsome." Even Yu Hua nodded her head. This proved that Pai Pai was indeed very handsome. This was the truth. Pai Pai was just like a dark character, filled with mystery and killing intent. Especially the black flame that was emitting from his body, it added a kind of oppressive atmosphere. An atoll looks like this. Even Kong Feiqing was puzzled. Pai Liang Jun didn't know either. In actuality, Bao Pe didn't know either. After all, who would use an atoll for fun? Unless it was when one's life was in danger, and the peace in Water City had already lasted for a very long time, therefore, no one would use an atoll. Being able to break open my black coffin, and even being able to force me to take out my 7 ministers, you can already be considered to have one. Bao politely waved the 7 ministers in his hand, and a terrifying aura rippled out. Chapter 905. Leather looked at Bao Pe and said faintly, I don't know who was the one who said that he wouldn't use a weapon, but right now, he actually used a weapon, hee. Bao Pe's face stiffened as if he had been slapped in the face. That's also my fault. I forced you to use nothing, so I had no choice but to use my weapon. The meaning of Bao Pe's words was very clear. You were forced by me, so you are a defeated opponent. Moreover, you use cheating methods to increase your strength. Moreover, even if you use selfless, you still won't be a match for me. It's just a matter of a light slash. Bao Pe continued. He even waved the 7 ministers in his hand, releasing bits of starlight. Pippi chuckled and said, You seem to have misunderstood something. It was just a light strike. Just as he finished speaking, Pai's body seemed to have been frozen in place, not moving an inch. Bao Pe was startled, and a sense of danger appeared behind him. With a backhand slash. Puff! The tips of the 2 swords came into contact with each other, instantly stirring up a terrifying wave of air. Pai was now very clear of his advantage. He circulated his Do Chi with all his might and a wave of black Do Chi erupted from his body. Bao Pe also knew his opponent's intention. A battle of battle chi. Ha! Bao Pe furiously shouted and white Do Chi spread out from his body. A black and a white Do Chi immediately formed, creating a huge whirlpool. That terrifying atmosphere infected everyone. It was so terrifying. Leather relied on his improved strength. As for Bao Pe, he relied on the primordial divine artifact in his hand. The 2 of them were actually equally matched. From this, one could see the importance of possessing a great desolate era divine weapon. Pai, I told you, you are not my opponent. Bao Pe still had the time to say that, indicating that his foundation was really strong. Bao Pe, don't underestimate me. Pai angrily shouted, the black light on his body flourished, the majestic aura became even more abnormal. There was still a difference between the peak of the Do Zun class and a grade 8 Do Zun. Moreover, the difference was not just a little big. After all, at this level, every grade was like a ravine. If not for the primordial divine weapon, Bao Pe would have been defeated long ago. The blackened skin was not to be underestimated. Beads of sweat appeared on Bao Pe's forehead. This Anata was actually so abnormal. This leather was probably half a step into the ranks of supreme beings. They were commonly known as pseudo-supremes. The black Do Chi was getting stronger and stronger, while the white Do Chi was getting smaller and smaller. It was not as dazzling as it was at the beginning. Faced with such a situation, the audience was also dumbfounded. He didn't think that House Pai's 3rd brother would be able to beat Bao Pe. Although he used a martial art, it was still very strong. It was rare to see someone stronger than him. That's rubbish. My son can't take it anymore. Pai Liang Jun was very happy now. He could finally give this old fart a blow. Bao Si's chest heaved up and down. It seemed like he was in a bad mood. He had underestimated the power of Anata. Kong Feiqing said lightly, now if your son wants to win, I'm afraid he can only use Anata. Bao Si was speechless. If her's prehistoric artifact was a bit better, even if it was just a bit better, he would have definitely won this time. However, the grade of this prehistoric artifact was a bit inferior, and that leather weapon of Pu'er's wasn't bad either. Adding on the fact that Pu'er's strength was doubled, Pu'er was actually able to restrain Pu'er. Therefore, what Kong Fei Ching said wasn't unreasonable. If Pu'er didn't use an atar, he would probably lose. The look in Bao Po's eyes became more and more horrified. The strength of the opponent was still growing, as if it could never be stopped. Was this the power of an atar? It is very powerful. Bao Po. It is still not too late for you to admit defeat now, so that you don't have to suffer. Pai Pi used the same words to counterattack Bao Po. Don't think that just because you are powerful that no one can defeat you. I, Pai Pi, am one of them. Bao Po's entire body felt unwell. Perhaps it was because he was angered by Pai Po's words, his aura immediately became chaotic. Sensing that Bao Po was becoming unstable, Pai Pi shouted out furiously, and his strength grew once again. The black dookie instantly swallowed the white dookie. A huge wave was set off in the surroundings, and that terrifying pressure caused everyone to feel like vomiting. That rubbish of yours lost. Seeing this scene, Pai Liangjun laughed loudly and said, "What rubbish? Son, count yourself as a hammer." Bao Ci said faintly, "It is still too early to say right now." Right now, Bao Po was in a bit of a sorry state. He was gasping for breath while holding on to Chi-Ching. Meanwhile, Pai Pi held onto his sword and slowly walked towards Bao Po. Pai Pi seemed to be asking, "Where is your aura? Didn't you want to defeat me? Didn't you want to make a fool of me? Pai Pi, you have really made me look at you in a different light." Bao Po straightened his back and coldly looked at Pai Pi. If he did not have killing intent at the start, then he did now. To actually make him lose face in front of so many people. His father was still watching from above, and that trashy brother-in-law was probably still laughing in his heart. Unable to defeat him even with an ancient divine weapon, what a noob. Hee, Bao Po, I will give you one chance. If you admit defeat now, I will spare your life. Pai Pi said indifferently. Using the same words, he was also telling Bao Po not to underestimate anyone. Of course, only when he was in a desperate situation would he be able to unleash his great strength. Bao Po laughed loudly, "You want me to admit defeat? Pai Pi, you are probably dreaming. Is that so? Don't you feel that your body is a little strange?" Pai Pi suddenly asked. Bao Po's expression froze. He indeed felt that his body was a little stiff. You poisoned me. A wound appeared on Bao Po's right shoulder. Although it was not deep, it still cut him. Pai Pi waved the blade in his hand, but it was not as strange as Yang Haotian. He licked it. "Indeed, I poisoned you a little. It is enough to make you hesitate for a moment. So, Bao Po, this time you will lose for sure." After saying that, Pai Pi placed his sword horizontally in front of his chest. The entire black sword floated in the air. Green jade killing intent. Pai Pi spread his arms, and the sword in front of his chest immediately flew to the top of Pai Po's head, turning into more than 10 flashing black swords. The tips of the swords were aimed at Bao Po. But Bao Po still seemed to be struggling. His face gradually revealed fear. "Pai Po. You dare. Bao Po, this is the deep sea arena. Leave it to fate." Pai Pi said in a low voice. The sharp sword above his head was already itching to pierce through his opponent's chest, emitting a strange black light. Killing intent appear. Pai Pi did not seem to give Bao Po the slightest chance. With an angry shout, more than 10 sharp swords with a terrifying aura attacked. Facing such a situation, everyone was a little dumbfounded. This did not seem like a normal martial arts competition. This was simply a slaughter. What kind of deep hatred do you have? Is there a need to do this? Pai Liangjun, you shameless bastard. Not only did you smear poison on your sword, you actually told your son to smear poison. Bao Xi immediately scolded. All is fair in war. Don't you understand? Pai Liangjun said disdainfully. So what if he smeared poison? Wasn't this very normal? After saying that, Pai Liangjun did not speak anymore. He wanted to see how long Bao Xi could wait. Chapter 906. Bao Xi seemed to have understood what Pai Liangjun meant. Pai Liangjun wanted Bao Xi to apologize to Bao Xi. As expected, he is shameless. However, Bao Xi believed in his son. After all, he knew his son's capabilities. This kind of situation is indeed very troublesome, but my son should be able to handle it. He definitely can. Bao Pe, who was in a stiff state, looked at the tens of swords that were flying towards him, and he was making a decision in his mind. In 0.1 seconds, Bao Pe had already made up his mind, and he shouted out angrily, "Heavenly Sealing Ghost Chart, Anata." After Bao Pe said that, everyone was shocked once again. They didn't expect that even Bao Pe would use Anata. Are the two of you crazy? Is there a need to fight like this? Isn't this a lose-lose situation? After all, Bao Pe was currently a rank 8 Dozun. After using Anata, he would become a rank 7 Dozun, and going from rank 7 to rank 8 was not as simple as going from rank 1 to rank 2, the experience value required was quite a lot. Therefore, Bao Pe suffered even more, but what else could he do? He was already forced into a desperate situation. If he didn't use Anata, he would definitely be heavily injured. If he did that, he would definitely be heavily injured. There was no way he could win. The two of you are crazy. Kong Feiqing laughed lightly. To actually use Anata as a side dish, is there a need for this? We are all from Water City, how are we going to meet in the future? Right now, Bao Xi's expression was very ugly. He felt that it was not worth it for Pe to use Anata, and that Pai Liangjun was only rank 2, even if it dropped to rank 1, it would still be acceptable, and it would be easy for him to cultivate again. But my son, this damned Pai Liangjun, he is definitely the one who instigated my son to do this. Bastard! Yi Zizi sighed lightly. I originally thought that I would be able to make a comeback, but I didn't expect that. I still didn't succeed. That might not be the case. Everyone has to have hope. If there is no hope, what difference is there between a person and a salted fish? Kai Yun smiled sweetly, giving off a very pure feeling, as if he could easily swindle someone. Qing Yutong and Brett smiled bitterly and shook their heads. Salted fish is his honor's catchphrase, calling others salted fish for no reason. Even if they make a comeback, they will still be salted fish. Pai Qing and the others who were watching the battle at the side were also extremely shocked. This battle seemed to have already surpassed their imagination. This third brother of his was simply too good at hiding, pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. He actually forced Bao Pe to use Anata. This was already considered a win. There was nothing more to say. Kong Hong and Kong Tai's expressions sank as they realized the gap between them and the others. They decided to cultivate properly in the future and try to catch up. If the others could force Bao Pe to use Anata, they had to be ruthless. Seeing that Bao Pe had also used the selfless body, the corners of Leather's mouth curled up, finally unable to hold back. In that case, even if he lost this time, it would be a glorious defeat. He had forced him to take out the Chaos Divine Weapon and had even forced him to use the Selfless Divine Weapon. It was a huge gain for him, and a huge loss for him. Bao Pe used Selfless and a huge vortex surged out from his body. The dozen or so black blades didn't even manage to pierce through the vortex before they were scattered. It was clear how terrifying this vortex was. However, this was nothing. Bao Pe, who was in the whirlpool, was emitting a frightening aura. He, who was originally a grade 8 Dozun, had instantly reached the peak of the Dozun class. His strength was still continuously rising. Kong Fei Ching said in a deep voice, I'm afraid that he will reach Shizun. Pai Liangjun did not speak. Third brother had used the selfless body, and his strength was already half of Shizun. As for the grade 8 Baope, his strength would definitely break through the Do Zun class and reach the ranks of Shizun. Third brother would definitely not be able to defeat Baope, but he wouldn't lose out either. Bao Ci did not speak now. He seemed to have shut himself up because even if his son won, it would still be a huge loss. Bang! A deep sound resounded through the bottom of the sea. The huge vortex instantly disappeared, and the person who appeared in front of everyone was still Baope. However, his entire body had turned black, and he was exactly the same as leather. The 7 ministers that were originally flashing with the brilliance of stars had also turned black, and he looked extremely terrifying. The main point was, the current Baope did not emit any aura at all, and he was just like an ordinary person. Shizun. Qing Yutong smiled slightly. That's right, this Qi method is too awesome. Even Kai Yun said that this Qi method was awesome, then it was definitely awesome. Brett did not refute. He even nodded his head. This Qi method was indeed awesome. The guards beside them basically did not hear what they were talking about, as everyone's attention was attracted by Bao Pe, who was in the middle of the battlefield. Qi Shu Wen was the same as well. This Qi method is practically an instant Jizun. This kind of Qi method is simply too abnormal. Big Brother is truly formidable. Although Bao Yuyu said that, she was still very worried in her heart. Qi Shu Wen did not speak. This kind of high-intensity showdown caused him to see a lot of things, and a lot of helplessness. Just like the North and South martial arts competition back then, I could only sit at the side and watch, and it was no different from now. The showdown between experts seemed to have nothing to do with me, and I also seemed to be unable to interfere in this kind of showdown. I will forever be a bystander. I have been like this since the very beginning. Then why did the heavens give me a system? Then don't give it to me. You want me to give it to an ordinary person. Since you gave me hope, you want to destroy my hope. I, Qi Shu Wen, do not want to be a side character. Qi Shu Wen, am fated to be the main character. On the battlefield, Leather's aura was still as strong as before, and Bao Po appeared to be very at ease. This is Shi Zun. He is no different from an ordinary person. Bao Po also felt his own strength, as if he could tear the sky apart. This kind of feeling is indescribable, very satisfying. So this is how Jizun feels. I have finally experienced it today. It will also be helpful for my future cultivation. It can be considered as a great fortune and misfortune. This leather in front of me, I can destroy him with a single finger. Bao Pe, you still used an ata. Leather said indifferently, from that posture, it seems like he doesn't want to fight anymore. Bao Pe said in a low voice, Leather, it's all because you forced me, so you have to pay the price. After saying that, he slashed out with his sword. Only to see a deathly black light attack towards Leather. That terrifying pressure is definitely not something that Leather can block. Jizun and half a Jizun, the difference is like heaven and earth. But Leather doesn't believe this. The sword in his hand also emitted a black light. Bang! The entire sea region trembled, the magma below started to boil. This caused the 3 old men to frown. A terrifying wave of air rushed towards the spectator stands. Bao Ci waved his hand, a barrier immediately cut off this wave of air, to prevent people from getting hurt. Bao Po's figure stood steadily, but Leather's body actually flew backwards, smashing into a seamount, the entire seamount shattering. That clash of sword energy just now was simply a merciless suppression. Without any suspense, Leather was sent flying by the sword. He is probably heavily injured now. Everyone's jaws dropped slightly. This is a Jizun. A powerful Jizun. Chapter 907. Sai, Qing Yutong let out a light sigh. It's over. It's over. Yu Hua muttered, there's no chance of a comeback in this kind of situation. Right now, although Bao Ci was not happy, he had no other choice. Therefore, he still had to say what should be said. Forcing my Pe to flip out, sigh. When Pai Liangjun saw that Bao Pe used an ata, he more or less knew the result, so he didn't want to say anything. Right now, it's fine for third brother to admit defeat, there's no need to continue fighting, he has already proven himself. However, Pai originally thought so too, but now, he didn't think so anymore. A pitch-black figure could be seen scuttling out from the ruins and appearing not far away from Bao Pe. The black armor on Pai's body was broken, his shoulder guard was gone, and his chest was completely shattered. Although he was able to withstand such an attack, his entire body didn't feel that good. Pai, I didn't expect you to still be able to stand up, I have a whole new level of respect for you. If Bao Pe wasn't angry, it would be a lie. Pai wiped off the bloodstain on the corner of his mouth and said with a smile, Bao Pe, if I can also become an overlord, it's hard to say who will win. Pai, seems like you still want to continue fighting. Nonsense, I have already used an ata, how can I not continue fighting? Pai raised his hand and pointed his sword at Bao Pe. The 7 ministers in Bao Pe's hand immediately shot out black light, and a terrifying aura began to gradually condense. Pai. I will ask you one last time. Are you going to fight or not? Fight! Pai shouted out angrily, and a powerful duki burst out from his body. The two immediately formed a clear contrast. Bao Pe's duki was clearly much stronger. Don't blame me then. Bao Pe immediately rushed forward, and Pai's gaze focused and began blocking Bao Pe's attack. Boom boom boom. Rings of light exploded at the bottom of the sea, it was extremely terrifying. Pai was forced to retreat step by step, and Bao Pe was getting more and more courageous, the outcome of the battle was already very obvious. But even so, Pai still didn't retreat, even though his body was already covered with bloodstains. This kind of state made everyone admire him, this is what a real man is like. Just like that son-in-law of Bao family, he is simply trash. Qi Shuwen also wanted to be a man for once, but he didn't have the courage that Pai had. In the field, the two of them separated again. Bao Pe seemed very indifferent. Leather was already gasping for breath. His body was covered in sword wounds, and the sword in his hand had been dented and was on the verge of breaking. Actually, this was the result of Bao Pe going easy on him. If he didn't go easy on him, he would definitely have to leave. Leather, that's enough. Bao Pe said calmly. After all, he had watched him grow up. How could he kill him? There was no enmity between them. Pai took a deep breath, then threw away the sword in his hand. The sharp sword fell directly into the magma and disappeared in an instant. But Leatherface put his palms together. Paw! A huge sound wave spread out. As he put his palms together, everyone felt a different aura. Even Yi Zizi began to frown. This water city is indeed powerful. Its cultivation method is impressive, Yu Hua said softly. However, the 3 old men were no longer calm. They set up a barrier to protect the citizens. Your third bro simply doesn't want to live anymore. Kong Fei Qing said in a deep voice. Pai Liangjuan's expression sank as he let out a small sigh. Your third bro is indeed powerful. Bao Ci couldn't help but praise Leather. This is what a real man should be like. Sigh, in the field, Leather muttered to himself. The belated water god's whirlpool. Following this sentence, the seawater began trembling. Decaying sea of sand, bones appear. Following this sentence, the skeletons that were buried at the bottom of the sea began to move slightly. Lowly life, shine once again. Heavenly Sealing Ghost Chart, Bone Official. Boom boom boom. Loud sounds rang out from the bottom of the sea, and countless skeletons floated up. There were weak fishes, and there were also strong fishes. All of the skeletons rushed towards Leather. During the entire process, the skeletons gradually gathered together and formed into a huge skeletons. That astonishing aura. It actually reached the level of Overlord. That was way too awesome. Even Kai Yun was a bit dazed. If I were to learn this technique, that would simply be heaven-defying. Even Qing Yutong was a bit envious of this technique. It is simply too overpowered. This rank 2 Dozun directly reached half-step Dozun, and he even managed to summon an overlord creature. If the people of this water city were to go out, wouldn't the world be turned upside down? Roar! A bonefish that was formed from skeletons roared furiously. Looking at how those 3 ancient divine beasts revealed their battle intent, it could be seen how powerful this bonefish was. Leather, you are truly powerful. You even know how to use the bone official. As long as one is willing to learn, there is nothing that one cannot learn. Leather said in a deep voice. This was his final trump card. If he still couldn't defeat Baopa with this, then there would be no hope. You are right, as long as one is willing to learn, Leather, I should be able to learn more than you. Baopa kept his 7 ministers and said faintly, since you like to play with the heavenly sealing ghost chart, then I will play with you till the end. Baopa also placed his hands together. Bang! The wave that was created caused everyone's scalp to go numb. Luckily, there was a barrier protecting them, if not everyone would have died. Dusty Water God. Hearing these words, the expressions of the 3 old men changed greatly. Crazy! Kong Feiqing shouted in a deep voice. Chapter 908. The terrifying water fist brought with it an immense pressure as it descended. The surrounding seawater was actually emptied. Boom! The water fist landed heavily on Yugu's body. Yugu, who was already a supreme martial artist, actually couldn't withstand it, and his whole body suddenly fell down. However, the skin was just below the fish bones, and the whole person was brought down by the fish bones. But what was below? Lava. Magma that could melt anything. This left everyone dumbstruck. Even the 3 old men were dumbfounded, unable to react in time. However, just like that, he lost his last chance to save them. After all, this was a cultivation technique that was released by a Jizun. If he lost this opportunity, then it would be gone forever. Third brother. Pai Liang Jun's figure instantly disappeared from the prairie blazing warhorse. However, he was still a beat too late. Puff. The water fist brought the fish bones and skin into the magma, while Pai Liang Jun stood above the magma, stretched out his hand, and watched his son fall into the magma. His entire body froze. No one had expected such a sudden situation. Even Baopa didn't expect it, because it was also his first time using the water screen. This was truly an accident, but even if it was an accident, Baopa still accidentally killed Pippi. Bao Xi rushed to his son's side, while Kong Feiqing stood beside Pai Liangjun to prevent him from going berserk. Pai Qing and Pai Guanghui stared blankly at the boiling lava, their minds blank. No matter how bad their relationship was, how could they accept the fact that their brother had died in front of them? Kong Hong and Kong Tai were also very surprised. It was too sudden, so sudden that no one could react. Looking at the dumbfounded audience, the bottom of the sea was calm. Qin Yutong and the others were also a little surprised. This water screen actually blasted Jizun's bonefish down, and it even brought along its skin. This Pai Pai was a good person. When she was acting on the ship, he helped her. Although the process was a little awkward, at least he appeared. My intention was good, although I changed my mind in the end, but you're still a good person. Under such a terrifying water screen, the skin was basically unable to move at all, and could only be taken off by the bonefish without any means to save itself. At this moment, Abalone was also stunned. She was so scared that her face turned pale. However, Chi Shu Wen didn't. After all, they had never come into contact with each other before. They were even cursing each other just now. It would be good if he died. No. It's good that they're dead. Let's fight. It's best if we kill them all. I curse you. Pai Pai. Pai Liangjun, who had lost his beloved son, was infuriated. The aura of a sovereign burst forth, which was much stronger than Bao Po's. The entire magma seemed to be able to sense Pai Liangjun's anger, turning from gold to blood red, as if Pai Liangjun's blood had dyed the magma red. Pai Qing and Pai Guanghui instantly appeared in front of their father, glaring angrily at the Bao father and son. Bao Xi and Bao Po looked at the three from House Pai, their expressions a little unnatural. Brother Pai, please calm down. Go to hell and calm down. Bao Pa, give me back my son's life. Pai Liangjun furiously shouted and punched towards Bao Pa. Bao Xi narrowed his eyes and stood in front of his son. Pai Liangjun. You're being unreasonable. You killed my son, and you want me to reason with you. I'll kill your son first. Are you crazy? Let's not talk about the risks in the deep sea arena. My Pa told your son to admit defeat, but your son didn't listen, causing such a result. Who's at fault? Everyone can be the judge. Bao Xi directly punched out. When the fists of the two supreme martial artists collided, the entire surface of the ocean trembled, and cracks even appeared on the surface of the ocean. However, on the surface of the Sea of Innocence, a gigantic tsunami actually appeared. The tsunami's height had already reached a few hundred meters, and it was currently heading towards the coastal area. This was something that no one expected. If a tsunami like this were to land on the coastal area, it would definitely be a devastating disaster. Right now, the situation at the bottom of the ocean wasn't looking good either. The two supreme martial artists started fighting, and Kong Feiqing couldn't do anything about it. One of his sons died, how could he not be angry? However, the spectators could only watch the fight between the supreme martial artists. Although they couldn't see the fight clearly, it was still very satisfying. Pai Liangjun, that's enough. Bao Xi shouted coldly. I'm going to kill you today. Did you forget what we came here to do today? Bao Xi said in a low voice. After hearing what Bao Xi said, Pai Liangjun paused for a moment and clenched his fists tightly. After today's matter is over, we'll talk about this matter again. How about it? Go to hell. Pai Liangjun still chose to take revenge for his son. Whatever seal, I don't care about it anymore. Kong Feiqing took a deep breath, then said towards his two sons, you two quickly go back. Don't stay here anymore. Father. Quickly go back. Kong Hong and Kong Tai took a look at the five beauties and seemed to be a bit unwilling to give up. Kong Feiqing nearly exploded from anger. Look at what time it is already, and you two are still thinking about beauties. Can you two grow up? Look at that guy's skin, he has great talent, but he still died in the end. Scram. Yes. Kong Hong and Kong Tai could only leave. Father definitely has something to do. Looking at the boiling magma, Kong Feiqing felt a bit uneasy. Chapter 909. Why did you come back? Don't you know that I told you to leave? Bao Xi shouted in a low voice. Do you think this is a game? That could cost someone's life. Bao Pe said in a deep voice, Father, I have already opened an ata, there is still an hour left. With my sovereign strength, I can also help you. Hearing his son's words, Bao Xi seemed to have just realized that his son had opened the Inata realm and also had the strength of a supreme martial artist. Then go evacuate the people first. Yes. Pai Liangjun was furious, but the roar from the magma calmed him down a little. The two of you, go home immediately. Pai Liangjun said in a deep voice. Father. Scram. Pai Ching and Pai Guanghui felt quite helpless. They wanted to help their father, but they had no choice but to scram. After all, his strength was there, and he still had to let his father take care of him. But what kind of monster was under the magma? While carrying doubts, Pai Ching and Pai Guanghui left first. At this moment, Bao Po was also evacuating the audience. However, some people were unwilling to leave. It seemed that there was going to be a good show to watch soon. It seemed like this excitement was not divided by region. People everywhere liked to watch a good show, and they didn't mind it. But some people were destined to be tragic. Roar! Waves of frenzied roars reverberated through the entire sea. Once again, an even larger tsunami appeared on the Sea of Innocence. This was a disaster. Magma began to erupt like sparks. Even the barrier set up by the three old men was unable to withstand the erosion of the magma. It disappeared in an instant. When a drop of lava fell on someone's arm in the spectator stands, a maniacal scream suddenly rang out. This person began to turn into a skeleton at a speed visible to the naked eye. This magma was indeed terrifying. Moreover, the magma was like a dense Gatling gun, falling into the surroundings. The crowd was screaming. If they were given another chance, they definitely wouldn't stay and watch the show. It was as if they were playing with their lives. The four honorable beings were also resisting the lava. After all, if it were to land on their bodies, they did not know what sort of damage it would cause. Meanwhile, at Qin Yutong's side, all of the imperial guards surrounding her were shot down. Only the 5 of them were fine. It was as if they had the protagonist's halo. The magma just didn't land on them. It was as if tens of thousands of arrows were shot at the same time, but they just couldn't hit their target. It didn't make sense. His luck was just that good. Yi Zizi closed her eyes and murmured, "This voice is really nice." Yeah, it's the sound of nature. Kai Yun also closed his eyes in enjoyment. It was too comfortable. Brett pursed his lips. What two little perverts. It's none of your business, old woman. Yi Zizi snorted. Brett couldn't be bothered to lower himself to Yi Zizi's level, so he stopped talking. Qin Yutong, on the other hand, was looking inside the magma. Just what kind of monster would appear? Hearing that roar, it should be a very powerful monster. This was no small matter and could not be underestimated. Alright, it was just a joke. There were 5 freaks standing here, so the ones he had to be careful of were the 4 supreme beings. A stream of magma spurted out like a fountain. It was dazzling and beautiful. However, this magma spewed out from the deep sea. On the vast Sea of Innocence, a terrifying wave of lava burst out of the sea and rushed into the clouds. However, when the magma was blown by the wind from high up in the sky, it was originally perfectly straight, but right now, it started to bend. As for where it would be blown to, no one knew. However, it was hard to deny that if this magma were to fall down, it would be a terrifying disaster. Old Mao, how's today's harvest? A 70-year-old old man walked over while holding onto a fishing rod and a sieve. His face was brimming with a gentle smile. Old Wang, that little grandson of yours has just been born, are you willing to come out? Old Mao was also a 70-year-old old man. Wearing a conical bamboo hat, he turned his head around and said with a smile. Old Wang sat beside old Zhang and said with a slight smile, "Fishing is more important for us brothers, it's fine as long as there is an old woman looking after us." Look at your mouth that can't be closed, it must be comfortable to have a grandson. Old Wang said with a slight smile. That's right, if that son of mine didn't fight for it, he would have stayed in this small fishing village for the rest of his life, waiting for that little grandson to bring honor to our old Wang family. Bring honor to our ancestors, sigh. Old Mao let out a deep sigh. That son of yours hasn't returned home for almost 20 years, right? Sigh, sometimes, I really feel that I don't have this son anymore. That son of yours is very busy, but fortunately, with your son in Meridian Break Sept, our village is a bit better off. Old Mao laughed lightly. In the past, I did feel that I had a lot of faith, but after a long time, who would be able to endure it? Fishing, don't talk about such a depressing matter. All right, let us return with a full harvest today. The two hid at the seaside and chatted while fishing. There was even a small glass of wine placed at the side. Old Mao, am I drunk? The horizon seems to be covered. Old Wang rubbed his eyes and asked curiously. Old Wang rubbed his eyes and asked confusedly, what is that? However, at the horizon, a huge tsunami came attacking, and the terrifying pressure seemed to be able to tear everything apart. Old Mao, what is this? Old Zhang grabbed onto Old Mao's arm and asked in alarm. Old Mao was also stupefied by the thing in front of him. It's too tall, it seems to be able to cover the entire sky. The tsunami didn't come, but a strong gale immediately came, and the two elders were instantly blown away. Their bodies fiercely collided onto the big rock behind them, and the two of them spurted out blood. And in the fishing village that was a few hundred meters behind them, all of the houses were flipped over. There were thousands of people in the fishing village, and in an instant, more than 10 people died. Panic spread in everyone's heart, because everyone saw that terrifying tsunami. Covering the blazing sun in the sky, everyone immediately knelt down and prayed, praying to the sea god for protection. Old Mao, Old Zhang, the two elders looked at the tsunami that was surging towards them, but they didn't have any way to stop it. Whoosh! The tsunami that reached the sky instantly overturned the entire fishing village, and everyone died at this moment. Even if it was a newborn child. It was simply cruel to the extreme. This fishing village was the village that was the closest to the tsunami, and there were more than 100 similar towns in the surroundings. The terrifying tsunami did not weaken in the slightest and continued attacking towards the mainland. However, at the back, an even more terrifying tsunami was following closely behind. When everyone looked at the tsunami that was swallowing everything, despair, deep despair. However, at the same time when everyone was in despair, a blazing flame appeared in the sky and slid past their heads. At the Meridian Break Sex Outer Sex Law Enforcement Team, it was currently time to eat. Team Leader Mao, congratulations. I heard that you are going to the inner courtyard. A law enforcement team member held onto a wine cup and chuckled. Chapter 941. Translations. Looking at the current Yi Yan and Yi Lu, this was the relationship that siblings should have. Once again, it showed that Yi Hua's arrangement was correct. I wonder what sister is doing now, and that ice lump, Yi Yan murmured. Yi Lu, who was at the side, became cold again. She only acted coquettishly to her own brother. Indeed, Yi Lu did not act coquettishly in front of God Yi. She only acted coquettishly in front of Yi Yan because Yi Yan was her brother. Sister must be bullying brother God Yi, Yi Lu said indifferently. Yi Lu said faintly as he pulled Yi Yan towards the cultivation room. He was already a little impatient. Yi Yan sighed. God Yi is so pitiful. Fortunately, Dad was smart and let me team up with you. Otherwise, I would have been killed by sister. Now you know that sister is good. You ignored me in the past. My good Lu, why did brother ignore you in the past? It was you who didn't play with brother and always hung out with God Yi. Yi Yan pouted. How could he say that he, as a brother, did not play with him. How heartless. Yi Lu smiled. Brother, I know I was wrong. I'll accompany brother more in the future. Yi Yan hugged his sister's shoulder. That's my good sister. Let's go. I'll let you practice. But I have to say, don't slap my face. I won't slap his face this time. I know you want to pick up girls. Hee, don't tell mom and dad. This is a little secret between us. I know. The siblings walked towards the training room under everyone's gaze. Then, they both sighed. They mourned for the training room for a second. Because it was about to collapse. It would basically collapse once a month. These two were simply perverts. As the siblings walked into the training room, everyone had a panicked expression, especially those who were taught a lesson by Yi Lu. They immediately pretended not to see it. Yi Yan continued to walk without caring about anyone. Yi Lu returned to her normal expression. Acting coquettishly was not a normal expression. The two walked towards the dedicated training room. Yi Yan pushed open the heavy metal door. Shouts could be heard from inside. Another child of the same age was waving his fists. He looked very serious, and his face was covered in sweat. It's him again, Yi Yan muttered. Emichim, Yi Lu replied calmly. The boy inside turned around to look at Yi Yan and Yi Lu. Of course, he knew them. They were about to become the principal's final disciples. No one dared to provoke them. It could be said that they could do whatever they wanted in deity institution. But he refused to accept it. Why were they allowed to become the disciples of Jizun and not him? He slept later than them, got up earlier than them, and worked harder than them. In just a few breaths of time, 1/5 of the outer sect had been set ablaze, and the magma was still flowing. This panic quickly attracted the attention of the inner courtyard. The Dozong teacher immediately flew to the scene of the incident. Hair hardening, what's going on? Where did this thing come from? A Dozong teacher questioned. I don't know. It fell from the sky. Just as the two of them were talking, another person suddenly appeared beside them. Everyone was stunned for a moment, then immediately knelt down and shouted, Greetings, Sovereign. The person who came was the Broken Pulse sect Sovereign, Lasting Hatred. Sovereign, the magma fell from the sky. The Dozong teacher seemed to have something difficult to say. Lasting Hatred looked at the long line of magma and said in a deep voice, a disaster has fallen from the sky, causing a great change in time. Could it be related to that skeleton? Hair Hardening said in a low voice. Lasting Hatred waved his hand and an unknown wind blew over. The falling magma gradually moved. Although it still landed in the outer sect, it slowly moved outside. But what was outside? It was filled with countless mountains. Even Lasting Hatred could not get rid of the magma and could only move it away. After all, the inner courtyard was filled with talented disciples. They had to make a choice. As the magma moved, it finally left the outer sect and began to pour onto the mountains outside. A terrifying fire descended in an instant, and the mountains turned into a sea of fire. Everyone's hearts trembled as they watched on. Lasting Hatred's hands immediately condensed a white glow. Following which, the white glow slowly rose into the sky. Soon, a dark cloud covered the sky, and it began to pour. Hopefully, it would be of some use. Lasting Hatred comforted himself in this way. Where did this magma come from? And it accurately fell into his own sect. Report. A Dozong quickly flew over and bent down in front of Lasting Hatred. Speak. The southern coast was attacked by 2 tsunamis, suffering heavy losses. Tsunamis. Lasting Hatred was puzzled, and his body instantly disappeared. Standing at the side, Hair hardened when he heard this. The parents of the coastal area quickly ran back home. In the deity institution, Dean Tai he was reading the results of the two little ancestors, and his face revealed a praising expression. Not bad, Yi Yen and Yi Lu are both not bad. They are extremely talented. I like them. Tai he laughed loudly. However, it seemed that the damned meridian-breaking sect also had two good ones. It was really troublesome. Report. A guard quickly ran into the study and knelt down on one knee. Tai he withdrew his smile, and his expression became respectful. HM. Two tsunamis appeared in the southern coast, destroying many cities. Tai he frowned, and his body instantly disappeared from the study. Lasting hatred was already standing not far from the tsunamis, and his gaze became deep. Tai he also appeared beside him, also looking at the tsunamis not far away. What is this water city doing? Lasting hatred said in a low voice. There was still golden magma above his head. From this direction, it seemed to have appeared from Water City. Tai he said in a low voice, I'm afraid something happened to Water City. Water City has been peaceful for so long, why did something happen at this time? Are those three supremes useless? Lasting hatred said angrily. Now that he found out that the golden magma came from Water City, how could he not be angry? He originally thought that it was a natural omen, but it turned out to be man-made. It can't be that Water City is declaring war on us again. Tai he said in a low voice, and his body gradually revealed a huge aura. Under this aura, the surging tsunamis actually decreased, and then turned into seawater that flowed on the ground. Then accept their declaration of war. Lasting hatred shouted in anger, and a terrifying pressure directly flattened the second tsunami. Tai he said indifferently, I'll go back and make some preparations first. We have to talk to them properly about this matter. That's fine. After saying that, Tai he disappeared. And lasting hatred looked at the golden magma in the sky, and there was nothing he could do. However, at this moment, the golden magma actually fell. Baidu search 881 Chinese network yen. No advertising words. Chapter 9:11. Long hatred immediately dispersed, and a long stream of magma fell onto the ground, instantly igniting the ground. Seeing such a scene, long hatred clenched his fists. This is going too far. Do you really think that you can do whatever you want just because you have three supremes? What a frog at the bottom of a well. At the same time, long hatred also disappeared from the sky. When he saw that half of his outer courtyard had disappeared, he really wanted to call for help right now and rushed to Water City to demand an explanation. Do you really think that I, who live on land, am easy to bully? However, the rainwater had no effect on the magma at all. What was supposed to be burning was still burning. Water City, you guys did well this time. You've angered me. A debt of blood must be paid with blood. On the other side, Mao Hao also rushed back home at top speed. He didn't even hesitate to use a few jump scrolls, which were his trump cards for escaping. However, he couldn't care so much right now. Mao Hao, who was in the sky, saw that the land had turned into an ocean, and a large number of corpses appeared on the surface of the ocean. To ordinary people, this tsunami was simply a huge killing power. They had no way of resisting it at all. My home is right by the sea. Since this place has turned into an ocean, then, Mao Hao didn't dare to stay any longer. He used the jump scrolls again and rushed back desperately. But, Mao Hao couldn't find his home anymore. There was seawater everywhere, and there were corpses of humans and animals everywhere. Father! Mother! Mao Hao roared angrily. He regretted himself. He was so focused on training that he didn't go back to take a look. He only regretted it when something happened. Ah! Mao Hao roared and looked at the distant ocean. Sea of Innocence. Inside the deep-sea arena, no one knew what had happened outside, nor did they know what the consequences of those few strikes just now were. Because they couldn't do anything about it, the thing in front of them was the biggest threat. A huge golden claw stretched out from the magma and stabbed into the sea rocks at the side. "Father, what exactly is this abyssal wave?" Bao Po was a bit shocked. "This monster. I'm afraid its strength is above supreme." Bao Po didn't say anything, he just stared at what was about to appear. Kong Feiqing said faintly, "The prehistoric divine beasts and ferocious beasts that we're familiar with are the strongest spiritual creatures, but above them, there's another terrifying existence." "Inferno," Pai Liangjun said. Bao Po was confused. He had never heard of the burning fiend before. This term was too foreign to everyone. Bao Ci said gravely, "The term the burning fiend represents a race. There are a lot of races within this race, countless of them, it's just that they are gradually disappearing from everyone's sight." Chapter 9:12. The black coffin Bao Si used was even purer, many times stronger than the one Bao Pe used. "Father, is this useful?" asked Bao Pe. "It doesn't work," Bao Ci said solemnly. Just as he finished speaking, Kong Feiqing, who was at the side, quickly formed a seal with his hands, and a terrifying force formed around him. Heavenly Sealing Ghost Manual, Graceful Swan. Following Kong Feiqing's angry roar, countless bright red lights appeared around the black coffin. These lights were like needles, but they were very thin and long. Every thin needle emitted a surging power that was shocking to the extreme. This heavenly sealing ghost chart was truly a good item. With a flick of Kong Feiqing's finger, all the brilliant light was inserted into the black coffin. When Qing Yutong saw this scene, she suddenly said, "Have you all seen a magic trick, a black box with a knife inside?" "I've seen it before," Yi Zizi raised her hand and said. She looked quite cute. "I've seen it too," Kai Yun also raised his hand like Yi Zizi. They really were two primary school students. Yu Hua said lightly, "This kind of magic is still too light for Fen Sha." Kai Yun nodded. At the very least, they had to use strange flames. At this time, Pai Liangjun temporarily put down his hatred and dealt with this abyssal wave first. Pai Liangjun stacked his hands together, his palms facing the huge black coffin. Silence Hong sect. As soon as he said that, a golden door appeared in front of the abyssal waves. The entire door looked very complicated, and there were complicated seals on the door beam, giving off a terrifying pressure. Shocking world extermination. Boom! A huge red door appeared behind them, forming a sharp contrast with the golden door. The entire sea trembled slightly. The door of life. Boom! A massive white door appeared on the left, giving off a shocking aura. As soon as the three doors appeared, Zhao Fu could clearly feel the black coffin trembling. When Bao Pe saw this, his eyes shone with excitement. This was one of the most mysterious moves of the Heavenly Sealing Ghost Manual. One could only learn it after reaching the utmost exalted level. Even he had only heard of it, but had never seen it before. He didn't expect Pai Liangjun to actually learn it. He wondered if his father knew how to do it. Stargate. Boom! The silver doors descended once more. As the four doors descended, the water began to boil. The immense pressure made Bao Po feel uncomfortable. Too strong. He was simply too strong. Although Bao Po felt uncomfortable, his eyes were filled with excitement. He also wanted to learn this move. Heavenly Sealing Ghost Chart, 4 Gates of Purgatory. Pai Liangjun shouted in a low voice. The 4 doors quickly merged together, and a phantom appeared within the doors. A terrifying aura swept through the black coffin, and the dazzling red needles were instantly broken. Chapter 9:13. The terrifying giant crocodile let out a blood-curdling screech, and the entire seabed fell silent. Bao Xi's face darkened, as if he had already sensed it. However, Pai Liangjun was gloating. The death of a mount was a devastating blow to Bao Xi. He was probably even sadder than if his son had died. His son could be reborn, but this prehistoric beast could not, and even more so could not be tamed. This was retribution. It wasn't that the time hadn't come yet. With that thought in mind, Pai Liangjun immediately ordered his steed to leave. He had already lost a son, so he could not lose the prairie-blazing warhorse as well. Kong Feiqing thought so too. He immediately ordered his dragon to leave. He had thought that they would still be able to put up a fight against such a monster, but in the end, they would only be eaten. This was unacceptable. Gradually, the sea of sand began to sink, and the field of vision became clear. However, the four of them looked at the scene in front of them and felt their scalps go numb. To be honest, that terrifying huge crocodile's body size is longer than Abyssal Wave, and it definitely has an advantage in terms of body size. However, in terms of strength, there is a world of difference. The weak were food. Just like now, the abyssal waves were currently gnawing on the terrifying giant crocodile. Even the front half of its body was gone, and its huge head was eaten. Bao Xi was infuriated to the extreme when he saw this scene. This was his mount, but now it was eaten alive, and right in front of him. The seawater was immediately suffused with a scarlet color and the smell of blood. This was the scent that Yizizi and Kai Yun liked the most. Just smelling it, it was extremely fragrant. After all, this was the blood of a primordial ferocious beast, and it was also a great tonic. Abyssal Wave was still enjoying his prey. He did not put the four of them in his eyes at all. Such a long and terrifying huge crocodile, in just a few moves, only its tail was left. This is simply unbelievable. Moreover, as the Abyssal Wave ate, its body gradually emitted a golden light. The light looked a little dim, as if this terrifying giant crocodile couldn't fill it up. As the last tail entered his stomach, Abyssal Ocean Wave burped as a snack. However, even if it was just a single burp, a massive wave of air immediately engulfed Bao Xi and the others. The four supreme beings could only passively defend themselves. Father. There's no way we can beat them. Bao Pe said in a low voice. Even the desolate wild beast had been eaten. One had to know that that fella had the strength of a supreme being as well. But all it did was cry out once and it was eaten right into its stomach. The three old men had also clearly felt that they had still underestimated Yi Hua. I thought that I would be able to defeat Yi Hua, but in the end, it was completely not like that. What should we do? Kong Feiqing whispered. Bao Xi and Pai Liangjun remained silent. If they let this monster go, then the people of Water City would suffer. However, the current problem was that if he perished, the people of Water City would continue to suffer. It seemed like the results were all the same. Now, it was time to make a decision on how to deal with this abyssal wave. Such a terrifying creature should not have appeared in the Kangluo continent. It was simply at the level of a bug. No one could defeat it at all. No wonder even the great ancestor could only seal it. It was already the limit for a great desolate era ferocious beast to appear to cause trouble. Now, it was the burning fiend race. What else could they do? I have an idea, Pai Liangjun said in a low voice. What? Lead him to the land. Pai Liangjun said calmly. He would let the mainlanders deal with this monster. After all, the ones who died were not his own people. Bao Pe said in a low voice, this is a good idea. No, this abyssal wave is originally an underwater creature. How can it go to land? Kong Feiqing shook his head. This was simply impossible. Could you let a fish swim on land? He was thinking too much. Then what should we do? Bao Po was a little anxious. However, just as the four of them were discussing how to deal with the situation, the abyssal sea wave bounced up again and attacked them. That huge impact made everyone's scalp go numb. If they were hit, vomiting blood would be a small matter, and they would probably faint. If abyssal ocean wave only knew these few moves, then he was gravely mistaken. One of the legs actually extended infinitely, and the hair on the leg immediately stood up. It was simply like a primordial divine weapon. Bao Po, who was running away, turned pale with fright. There was actually a huge phantom image behind him. Bao Po couldn't care less and could only dodge in a hurry. However, this was the special attack method of abyssal wave. The blade-like hair still managed to cut Bao Po's left arm. His left arm was cleanly cut off in an instant. Abyssal ocean wave didn't continue to chase and kept its leg. However, Bao Ci only knew that this fellow was called abyssal ocean wave, and didn't know its full name, poison wood. Are you alright? Bao Ci hurriedly checked on his son's injuries. Luckily, it was only a broken arm, there was still a way to deal with it. Bao Po didn't have much worry. Father, I am fine, it is better to quickly think of a way. You leave first, leave this place to father. Then how? Speaking until here, Bao Po's eyes suddenly widened, and his eyeballs seemed like they were going to explode. Bao Ci turned his head around and looked at his son confusedly. What happened to you? Bao Po couldn't say anything, and black objects started appearing on his skin, and his stomach started swelling. Bao Ci was anxious, but he didn't know what to do. Bao Po's body became incomparably huge, and it seemed like it was going to explode. Bao Ci. Quickly leave. Your Po is going to explode. Kong Feiqing hurriedly shouted. Pai Liangjun didn't say anything, this can be counted as a bargain. One of my sons died, and one of my mounts died as well. Doesn't this mean that I still made a profit? Father will think of a way for you, don't be anxious. Looking at his son's face that was filled with pain, Bao Ci shouted out anxiously. Then, he struck out one technique after another into his son's body, but it didn't have any effect. Kong Feiqing couldn't care so much anymore, and he hurriedly flew over and pulled Bao Ci away. This is the explosion of an overlord. Even if you are an overlord, you will still be implicated. Bao Ci shouted out towards his son, and tears flowed down his face. The explosion that he imagined didn't appear. Pooh! This voice that suddenly appeared caused even Bao Ci to stop shouting out in grief and indignation. Bao Po's swollen stomach was actually torn apart from the inside. 8 legs were revealed outside his stomach. Looking at this scene, Yizizi was suddenly startled. F***K, this is an aberration. This poisonous wood is actually the parent body. Yuhua went into a daze for a moment, then soon after, she smiled and said, this idea isn't bad, it's more or less like this. Seems like this poisonous wood isn't simple, it actually has this kind of reproduction ability. Kai Yun said faintly. The 3 overlords didn't know that this was a poisonous wood, after all, there weren't any records of this. However, the scene before their eyes had already surpassed their imagination. End of this chapter. Chapter 9:14. Bao Po was still thinking. He lowered his head and looked at his stomach. His 8 legs were already exposed, and he could even feel his stomach wriggling. Everyone also saw that Bao Po's stomach was flashing, and under this flash, they could clearly see that there was something inside that swollen stomach. It was even exactly the same as that abyssal wave. His 8 legs gradually exerted force and pulled his belly open, finally revealing his body. Bao Po's pair of eyes seemed as if they were going to pop out. Just what is going on? In despair, Bob looked at his father helplessly, just like when he was a child. When Bao Ci saw the look in his son's eyes, his heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. This was his own son. The image of Bao Pe as a child appeared in Bao Ci's mind. Those images made Bao Ci feel like he was going crazy. Puff! The miniature abyssal wave finally bounced out, and Bao Pe lost his life at this moment. Even his primordial spirit did not emerge. His entire body slowly fell, falling onto the sand. It seemed like the primordial spirit had been transferred to the tiny abyssal wave. Zzzzzzz, the waves in the small abyss emitted a subtle sound. Although it was very subtle, everyone could feel that this fellow actually had the strength of a supreme being. It seemed like he had completely absorbed Bao Pe. How could there be such a monstrous monster? However, when Dumu looked at the remaining three people, his huge eyes were filled with desire, as if he wanted to transform these three people. Kong Feiqing said in a low voice, "We can't stay here, we have to go back. Call for help." Pai Liangjun nodded his head. Right now, he was basically sending himself to his death. He might even become someone else's sacrifice. If you want to leave, you can leave. I want to avenge my son. Bao Ci was just like Pai Liangjun. How could a father bear to see his son die in front of him? Pai Liangjun shouted coldly, "Do you want to become that little monster and attack the people of Water City?" After saying that, he nodded at Kong Feiqing. The two of them carried Bao Ci, and Pai Liangjun took out a scroll. Seeing this situation, Poison Wood's three legs immediately rushed over, not intending to let him go. Pai Liangjun hurriedly crushed the scroll, and the three of them disappeared, while the three legs stabbed the air. Roar! Dumu roared in anger, and his huge eyes immediately looked towards Qin Yutong and the others. It seems like we are going to suffer a calamity. Qin Yutong smiled, and actually began to do gymnastics while sitting down. Finally, there are no more people, and I can finally go onto the stage. Let me. Kai Yin rolled up his sleeves, looking as if he was saying, "Don't fight with me over this. It's not easy for me to encounter a burning spirit, so I can properly play with him. I'll do it." Yi Zizi snorted. How could she miss something so fun? Brett said lightly, "You two kids go to the side." Old woman, who are you calling a child? I'm talking about you, airport. Brett pouted. Yi Zizi was speechless. 2 water balls fell on my chest. That's incredible. Who would like that? Hee, it's fine as long as my absolute heaven likes it. At the very least, it's better than your fried egg. No one likes it, Brett said with a look of disdain. Yi Zizi flew into a rage. Who are you calling a fried egg? I'll beat you up. Yutong, don't stop me. I didn't stop you. Qin Yutong raised both of her hands up high, and with the look of, if you want to go, then go ahead, don't say that I am stopping you. Yi Zizi snorted, if your wife doesn't allow it, I'll break those 2 water balls of yours today. Hee, are you jealous of me, fried egg? You. Stop. Qin Yutong couldn't take it anymore. These 2 people start scolding each other whenever they are together, I really can't take it anymore. Looking at Poison Wood, all of them had a puzzled look on their faces. Can't you give me face? Let's play rock paper scissors, how about it? Qin Yutong felt that this was the way to give Poison Wood face. Everyone nodded their heads, but Yuhua didn't want to participate. Yuhua, you come as well. The 2 of us have a higher chance of winning. You win, or should I go? Kai Yun was rather smart, pulling Yuhua along to play rock paper scissors. Yuhua had no other choice, she could only do this. Rock paper scissors. Rock paper scissors. Rock paper scissors. The 5 women started playing, and Poisonwood, who was at the side, watched on blankly. That gaze of his was filled with rage. I'm actually being looked down upon, and what's more, I'm being looked down upon by 5 women. They are actually acting as if they are joking with me and don't put me in their eyes at all. However, not far away, there were still 2 figures that did not leave. That was Chi Shu Win and Abalone Fish. Husband, let's go, my big brother, woo. Abalone Fish had seen everything just now, and she was extremely sad. Chi Shu Win hugged onto Abalone Fish and consoled her in a low voice, wait a while more, we still have to go and collect Big Brother's corpse. Abalone Fish went into a daze, and was instantly moved, husband, you are really too good. How would Chi Shu Win even have the intention to go and collect the corpse? I just want to go and pick up some leftovers and see if there are any treasures left. Bao Po's 7 ministers seem to still be there, I can take them away. However, these 5 women are actually playing rock paper scissors, I simply can't take it anymore, those idiots, we're all deceived by these 5 women. Husband, what are they doing? Abalone Fish asked curiously. They are. I reckon that they are sending someone to the stage. Ah. Why, did they decide to fight one-on-one? I don't know either. The 2 looked towards a place not far away. Old woman, you can't do it, hurry up and scram. Yi Zizi cheered, expressing that she was very excited. Kill all of them. Kai Yun was unhappy and snuggled into Yu Hua's embrace. Yu Hua even had to comfort Kai Yun in a low voice. Qing Yutong, on the other hand, didn't mind, she just wanted to see how Yi Zizi was going to completely oppress them. Yi Zizi took a deep breath, then yawned. The white princess dress that she was wearing on her body added a unique flavor to it. When Abalone Fish saw Yi Zizi walking out, she cried out in surprise, my God, is she preparing to go and fight by herself? That abalone sea wave is so big, and she is so small. Size is not important, what is important is strength. Chi Shu Win said gravely. You are right, but are they that powerful? You will know after you see. Yi Zizi slowly walked into the air, then pointed at Dumu, you better let me get excited, if not I will suck you to death. Dumu didn't know how to speak, if not, he would definitely ridicule Yi Zizi right now. You little thing, there is basically no need for me to make a move. The small Dumu could be seen charging towards Yi Zizi while carrying the aura of a supreme being. The small Dumu's 8 legs were like blades. Although it was a small Dumu, the poison within its body was not to be underestimated. The huge impact of the small Dumu's attack caused Yi Zizi's ponytail to dance crazily, and even Yi Zizi's fringe was messed up. End of chapter. Chapter 9:15. They actually sent a little one over, so gutless. Yi Zizi's ponytail shot out like arrows. Little Poison Wood's eyes seemed to be filled with contempt, and it still didn't change its posture. The 4 women who were watching the show sighed. They actually wanted to see Yi Zizi make a fool of herself so that they could ridicule her in the future. But this little Poison Wood was a bit retarded, actually baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Can't it use some brains? The hair directly pierced into Little Poison Wood's abdomen, and Little Poison Wood's eyes were filled with doubt, as if it didn't understand why hair could pierce through its defense, it simply didn't make sense. However, Little Poison Wood didn't even have time to react, and the blood essence in its body began to rapidly disappear. The speed was so fast that Little Poison Wood's big eyes revealed a look of horror. Its 8 legs could be seen stretching out, seemingly wanting to cut off the hair. Clang clang clang. Waves of metallic sounds could be heard, but it was completely useless. Yi Zizi slightly narrowed her eyes and said, although it's a bit disgusting, this blood essence is quite pure. It was a supreme after all, and Yi Zizi hadn't tasted it for a long time, so of course she felt that it was delicious. Chi Shu Win and Abalone were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. She. What is she doing? Abalone was incomparably terrified. Originally, he thought that this girl was very cute, especially those ponytails, which added a childlike charm to her. But now, there was no childlike charm at all, it was full of terror. Those cute ponytails actually became longer, directly piercing into little Poison Wood's abdomen, making one's scalp go numb. One was disgusting, one was cute. But Abalone felt that this cute one was even more terrifying. I don't know either. Chi Shu-win was also a bit dumbfounded. Just who is this little loli? She's actually so powerful. That little Poison Wood has the strength of a supreme. Could it be that this little loli can crush a supreme? Or could it be that all 5 women can crush a supreme? This is too shocking. Seeing that Yizizi was currently eating, Kaiyun fiercely swallowed his saliva. This is delicious, especially that big guy. In 2 breaths' time, little Poison Wood's body became withered. Yizizi retracted her ponytails and licked the corner of her mouth. If I add some ketchup, the taste should be even better. Everyone, roar. Dumu, who had been in a daze, finally reacted. His entire body shot forward, his huge body seemingly about to crush Yizizi's body. Compared to the Poison Wood, Yizizi was like an ant. Yizizi stood still as she watched the Poison Wood crash towards her. She even had a smile on her face. Boom! The poisonous wood and Yizizi collided fiercely, causing the entire seabed to tremble slightly. Chi Shu-win and Abalone stared blankly at the scene in front of them. Their jaws almost dropped to the ground. The strength of this poisonous tree was enough to make one's hair stand on end. Even the 3 supremes chose to temporarily retreat and think of a way to deal with it. However, at this time, this poisonous tree, was actually sent flying by me. How could he accept this? Even Abalone was rubbing his eyes hard, unable to believe what was happening in front of him. Boom! The huge body of the poison tree landed on the sand, raising a wave of sand. Yizizi's body was like a cannonball as she shot towards the poisonous tree. Her petite body was instantly submerged in the sand. Then you can hear it. Boom, 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 the entire ground was shaking. Even the people in Water City could feel it. Right now, the expressions of the 3 supremes who escaped were very bad. What should we do? If this abyss wave comes over, we won't be able to defend at all. Kong Feiqing said anxiously. This was a disaster for Water City. Feeling the ground shaking, Pai Liangjun gasped for breath. His expression was very bad, and he didn't express any opinion. Meanwhile, Bao Xi, who just saw his son die in front of him, had yet to recover from the sorrowful atmosphere. Say something, are all of you mute? Kong Feiqing roared anxiously. Bao Xi shouted out angrily, try and see if you still have the mood to care about other things after your son dies. Kong Feiqing didn't know what to say. The 2 of them had both lost a son, and this was indeed a huge blow to their hearts. Especially that he was actually treated as a host, and that fell into the magma, and not even his bones remained. Even Bao Xi's mount was eaten by the abyss wave. This blow was one after another, how could the others accept it? This is simply too cruel. Suddenly, the ground slightly trembled. Not good. Kong Feiqing said gravely. Bao Xi and Pai Liangjun both felt that this should be the aura of the abyss wave. How much longer are you all going to remain passive? If the abyss wave comes over, we will all be finished. At that time, Water City will become a dead city. Kong Feiqing shouted out angrily. Even at this time, they still have the attitude of wanting to give up. With this attitude, how can they possibly win against the abyss wave? Pai Liangjun said gravely, borrowing the power of the star cannon should be able to be of use. The other 2 nodded their heads. Right now, we will have to rely on the star cannon on the city wall. Let's hope that this star cannon will be able to be of use. After all, this star cannon is something left behind by the old ancestor. Damn, just what kind of person is your old ancestor? Are all these things so good? The three supremes stood on the city wall and stared into the darkness. They were a bit panicked, because the other party wasn't an ordinary monster, it was an especially abnormal monster. Even on the city wall, there were slight tremors. Chapter 9:16. Poisonwood fiercely looked at Yizizi with one of his eyes, as if he wanted to swallow Yizizi alive. And Yizizi was the same as well. After I am done playing with this thing, I will eat this thing in front of me. This feels great. This fellow is so big, so thick, so strong. The taste is definitely not bad. I should be able to eat until I am 30% full. I should be able to. PFFF. Everyone was shocked. This poison wood's eyeball actually popped out. This is too scary. Is this unintentional or intentional? If it is unintentional, then it is a bit sloppy. Is this fellow so scared that his eyeball popped out? However, the reality was not like that. That huge eyeball rolled onto the sand, looking especially terrifying. When the eyeball rolled out, that huge body seemed to have lost some kind of power, and the body actually gradually shrunk, just like a burnt spider, and was even shrinking infinitely. Not only was the body shrinking, even that I was shrinking, becoming a normal size. Yizizi was also confused. What is this poisonwood doing? Not only Yizizi was confused, Kaiyun and Yuhua were also confused, not understanding what was going on. Husband, what is going on? Abalone asked curiously. Qi Shuwen felt that if he was unable to answer, it would be a very embarrassing thing. After all, when Abalone asked him in the past, he was like an encyclopedia, and was able to answer everything. Therefore, he had to answer it now. Even if it was nonsense. Husband, you don't even know. Of course I know. Qi Shuwen hurriedly said, and in his mind, he was currently thinking about how he was going to bullshit. Then husband, tell me, don't tease me anymore. Abalone hurriedly asked. Seeing this monster being beaten to such a state, at least I managed to take revenge for my big brother. Qi Shuwen's face sunk, and just like a philosopher, he said, just now, this monster let out a strange sound. It should be summoning its companions. Then why did it make its eyeball pop out? This doesn't make sense, right? Qi Shuwen said inwardly, what do I know? Who knows why it wants to make its eyeball pop out? Is there something wrong with its brain? This is actually a type of secret signal. Maybe this eyeball belongs to someone else. Qi Shuwen bullshit again. There is no helping it. The preparations in the beginning were too good, and it was the same now. Abalone thought for a moment. Husband, you are really too smart. After saying that, she rewarded him with a kiss. Qi Shuwen even had the heart to die. Don't ask me any more questions in the future, please, especially this kind of problem that he didn't know the answer to. However, at this moment, at the edge of the magma, a palm suddenly stretched out and slapped the sea rock. Qing Yutong and the others immediately looked towards the magma, and their gazes revealed a look of curiosity. However, that palm instantly melted the sea stone. Then, with a plop, it sank again. The corners of Qing Yutong and the others' mouths twitched. I have already mentally prepared myself, and yet, this is what you are going to show me. I thought that there would be a deeper and more imposing entrance. In the end, it sank again with a plop. Wasn't it very embarrassing? I'm just asking if you feel very embarrassed. Ha 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 ha. Kaiyun took the lead and started laughing loudly, and Qing Yutong followed closely behind him. Even Yizizi was laughing to the point that she was holding on to her stomach. This was the scene of the final boss's appearance. The heavy atmosphere had been rendered very well, but in the end, it was all gone. The thriller had suddenly turned into a comedy. This change was too serious. It caught everyone off guard. You are truly 2F** king outstanding. Just as everyone was bursting into laughter, a figure suddenly rushed out from the magma. That's right, this was a figure. This figure had a head, legs, and hands, and its entire body was filled with magma, just like those lava men. Not sure why, Qin Yutong felt that this lava man was forcefully doing this, and once again exaggerating the way it appeared. After all, it was a bit embarrassing just now. One must know, the correct way just now was like this. A hand slapped onto the sea rock, and everyone would be shocked for a moment, wondering what that thing was. Then, it slowly walked out, and once the kind of terrifying aura was emitted, it would make people retreat. It was a pity that such a thing didn't happen. The sea rock melted, and the lava man sunk into the magma. Therefore, the lava man flew out from the magma and forcefully performed this scene. The lava man could be seen flying out from the magma and steadily standing on the sea sand. Although its expression couldn't be seen, it was reckoned to be very serious. But, ha 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 ha. Brett started laughing, and Kai Yun was already cramping in Yuhua's embrace from laughing. Yi Zizi didn't even want to fight anymore, this fellow is here to be a joke. Even Abalone was amused by the lava man. However, Qi Shuwen was a bit stupefied. He guessed it correctly. This is too mystical. Husband, you are truly too smart. Qi Shuwen took in a deep breath. I also know a lot of things. And my husband is indeed formidable. Being praised by his wife, Qi Shuwen felt a bit smug. The laughter continued, and looking at Yi Zizi who was in the sky, Qi Shuwen laughed until he slapped his thigh. Kai Yin felt that he was going to faint from laughing too much. Qin Yutong couldn't help but shout out, "Handsome, you stepped on your own eye, ha ha ha." It would have been fine if Qin Yutong didn't say it, but after Qin Yutong said it, everyone laughed even more happily. The lava man went into a daze for a moment, then lowered its head and moved its leg away. Poached egg could be seen imprinted on the lava man's leg, and there was even a bit of a roasted smell. That's right, the lava man indeed had the suspicion of wanting to act cool. Originally, I had already thought of a way to appear, but in the end, therefore, I changed it to jumping, and this time, I stepped on my own eye until it exploded. Isn't this even more awkward? Slowly, the magma on the lava man's body receded, and white skin was revealed. The entire body, there was something strange, because, I don't know if the lava man is male or female. If the lava man is male, then, what about little Pio? Then, if the lava man is female, the chest muscles are flat, and the hair on the legs, are they serious? So thick, the face is also very androgynous, but it's a braised egg, bald head. When Yi Zizi saw this appearance of the lava man, she immediately flew into Qin Yutong's embrace, expressing that she doesn't want to fight anymore. This is the funniest enemy that I have ever seen. He doesn't even need to fight at all, he can directly make the other party laugh to death. The lava man slightly bent down and picked up his poached egg. If one were to look carefully, at the center of the lava man's forehead, there was a closed eye. And this eye was placed precisely inside the lava man's eye. It's a pity that the lava man was stomped into a poached egg by me. Not only did I fail to act cool, I ended up being F***ed by myself instead. The lava man slowly turned around and looked towards the 5 women. His eyes were filled with violence, and his fists immediately emitted out a terrifying aura. It was undeniable that if this punch were to land, it would definitely hit the target. End of this chapter. Chapter 9:17. Lu Dan's heart was filled with thousands of curses. That poisonous would have been feeding my eyes for so many years, yet, however, he had stepped on it, and it had been cooked. It looked like a fried egg, and he had even been laughed at by the 5 women. Look at them, they seem to be dying of laughter. How could it be so easy to be laughed to death? You must pay the price. But just as the egg was about to attack, the 5 women actually rushed over together. This made the braised egg turn from offense to defense. You want to sneak attack me? How is that possible? You are looking down on me too much. However, these 5 women. He was actually humiliating her. There really isn't. Kai Yun stared at it, then said in a low voice. He even flicked it with his finger. Qing Yutong patted on that bald head. This bald head is really bright, it's a bit reflective. This leg hair is also real. Then tell me, is it a man or a woman? I can't tell. Since I can't tell, I'll call you a transvestite. That's true. He's neither a man nor a woman. He's just a transvestite, Kai Yun said seriously as he stroked his chin. Lu Dan felt unwell. This was the first time. Encountering such a situation, these people were actually observing him at such a close distance, and that little girl actually had a finger flick. She actually bounced once. Do you think I can tolerate it? Obviously, he could not tolerate it. So I want blood for blood. What is your name? Qing Yutong asked curiously. My name is Ren Yao. Ren Yao blurted it out reflexively. After saying it, she felt something was wrong. Why did she tell them? They were his enemies. He wanted to crush their bodies and let them know that there was a price to pay for laughing at someone. Let's fight. You bunch of trash. Ren Yao. Hearing such a name, the 5 women confirmed their thoughts. He was indeed a transvestite. Why aren't you wearing any clothes? It's very rude to be naked. Kai Yun pursed his lips, looking as if he was saying, you're not a cultured person. The other 4 also revealed looks of disdain. Exhibitionist. I have no manners. When Ren Yao heard this, she almost went crazy. Who was the rude one? Who stared at others like that? Furthermore, who would come out of the magma with clothes on? Could they have some common sense? Seems like I have to let you know what common sense is. Hey, where are you from? Why would it appear from here? Yi Zizi asked curiously. Since this person could make her laugh, she had a good impression of him. After all, he was a joker. Ren Yao decided not to answer. I, Ren Yao, also want face. If I say it just because you want me to say it, wouldn't I lose face? Seeing that Ren Yao did not say anything, Kai Yun mumbled, so she's an orphan. Ren Yao was speechless. Orphan my ass, your whole family is the orphans. Which eye of yours sees me as an orphan? Looks like I'll have to teach you a lesson with my fists. Flag Master, you can't say he's an orphan. That's very rude. Yu Hua started to teach him carefully. Oh, got it. Humph. You know your wrongs now, but it's already too late. You will die under my fist, and your souls will tremble, unable to be redeemed. Yu Hua sighed softly. Others have cultivated until they are bald. It's obvious that they are very hard-working. Bald. Ren Yao felt her whole body trembling. I just haven't grown it yet. Which eye of yours saw that I'm bald? Come, let's shoot our mouths. It's not the Mediterranean Sea yet. Brett said faintly. What is the Mediterranean Sea? Ren Yao felt curious. Seeing that even Ren Yao was curious, Qing Yutong patiently explained the meaning of the Mediterranean Sea. Ren Yao felt that she was going to go crazy. Just what kind of mentality do they have, to actually still be provoking me? Don't they know that my fists are very scary? A hole might be opened up on your stomach, and it's the kind of hole that can't be filled up. Are you guys afraid or not? Quickly look, the eye that was crushed should be placed in the middle. Yi Zizi pointed at the space between Ren Yao's eyebrows and said. Qin Yutong let out a light sigh. You are too careless, you just had to crush your own egg. Wrong, you roasted your own egg, why bother? Qin Yutong patted onto Ren Yao's shoulder, with a look on her face. That kind of pain was not something that an ordinary person could endure. That's right, such a beautiful egg, and it was crushed just like that. Kai Yun also felt that it was a pity. Hearing the 5 women feeling that it was a pity, Ren Yao felt a bit emotional. The egg that I raised for so long, wrong. When did it become an egg? It was clearly just my eye, alright. These women that are messing around, I want to let them know how big, how thick, and how powerful my fists are. He cried. Brett said in a low voice. Ah! Yu Hua cried out in surprise. The 5 women directly looked towards Ren Yao's eyes, and within those eyes, there were tears. Ren Yao's heart was about to explode. You guys are making things up out of nothing. When did I cry? I obviously didn't cry. I, Ren Yao, have never lowered my head before, and I have never cried before. However, upon thinking about my own egg, Ren Yao's heart ached. Pay attention next time. If you fail to act cool, then you are called an idiot. If you succeed in acting cool, then you are called awesome. Yi Zizi said attentively. Just like you today, you were obviously acting like an idiot. Although your actions were wrong, it is undeniable that you made me laugh. You are still very successful. Do you want to learn how to act cool? Qin Yutong's eyebrows twitched, and with a look of acknowledge me as your big brother, I will teach you how to act cool. Ren Yao was shocked. I, Ren Yao, have acted cool countless times in my life. Do I still need you to teach me? Today was just a mistake. If you have the ability to do it again, I guarantee that I will let you all broaden your horizons. Kai Yun said, be at ease, if you follow us, you will be our little brother. Only if I am King sick would I follow you all. Ren Yao, I'm going to get rid of you all today, and wash away the humiliation with blood. Which unit are you from? Brett asked curiously. Which unit? Ren Yao had a puzzled look on his face. Yi Zizi snorted, old woman, don't use such advanced vocabulary, he won't understand. Ren Yao's face immediately sunk. They are actually looking down on me again. And you are still saying that I, Ren Yao, won't understand. How is that possible? Isn't it just a unit? My unit, what is that? I really don't understand. Qin Yutong waved her hand, all right, both of you speak less, can't you see that this? Comrade Ren Yao is very angry. Hee, at least you have some knowledge, to be able to know that I am angry. I will leave your corpse intact later. Usually, only stingy people would be angry. Kai Yun pouted her small mouth and said. The hell? She actually said that I, Ren Yao, am a stingy person. Am I, Ren Yao, that kind of person? I, Ren Yao, am a person who has the world in his heart. Would I get angry over such a small matter? Definitely not. End of this chapter. Chapter 9:18. Kai Yun stretched out his hand and plucked another strand of Ren Yao's leg hair, then said with a smile, like I said, how could other people get angry? Ren Yao took a deep breath, then shouted out in her heart, I'm not angry. I'm not angry. How could I get angry? Only a child would get angry. Indeed, he is a person with magnanimity. Yu Hua nodded her head. However, the 5 women were laughing so hard in their hearts. To actually not have any reaction even after doing this, I'm afraid that this boss is a bit of a chinibu. Is he so easy to deceive? This is too interesting. Why were you under the magma? Did someone lock you up? Qin Yutong asked curiously. This kind of curiosity made Ren Yao a bit moved, That's right, Renyao misunderstood. She thought that Qin Yutong was only asking because she was concerned about me. What a good person. I don't know. Renyao's reply made the 5 women go into a daze. I actually don't know. Come, let's sit at the side and chat. Brett said faintly. It was not suitable for them to stand at the side. Afterward, the 6 of them sat at the spectator seats at the side. This made Qi Shuwen and Bao Yu dumbfounded. Is this even possible? Such a powerful person was taken care of by us with just words. How can we accept this? He is definitely a trash boss, or he is an idiot. Husband, let's quickly leave. Bao Yu said tenderly, we can't stay here any longer. However, Qi Shuwen was still looking at Bao Po's corpse. There should be quite a few good things inside, if we leave right now. However, if we send Bao Yu away right now, we will definitely be suspected in the future. Husband, don't say any more. I know you definitely want to go and help, but the other party is too strong. Even if we go, we won't be able to help. Qi Shuwen went into a daze for a moment, then put on a heroic spirit. Sharky, if this monster appears in Water City, it will definitely cause trouble. Right now, I am your husband, I have the responsibility to bear this danger. Hearing that, Bao Yu went into a daze. Without caring so much, she directly kissed towards Qi Shuwen, feeling proud. Qi Shuwen felt so painful in his heart. After a long time, Bao Yu softly said, my husband, I know what you are thinking, but let's go. I won't blame you, you are the hero in my heart. Qi Shuwen still put on a pained expression, as if he wanted to die here. Bao Yu had no choice but to directly drag Qi Shuwen and leave. That resentful gaze of Qi Shuwen. I really feel heartache for Bao Po's corpse. However, in the audience stands, there was a question being asked. If you don't know why you're here, do you remember who locked you up here? Yu Hua gently asked. This person's strength was very strong, much stronger than Du Mu. This was undeniable, but such a powerful person was sealed here, it was incomprehensible. Renyao raised her head slightly at a 45-degree angle, as if she didn't want her tears to fall. He was thinking too much. He was just creating a deep atmosphere, as if he had a story to tell. The 5 women just waited like that. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, Yizizi couldn't take it anymore. Raising her hand, she slapped onto her bald head. Speak. Why did you hit my head, you shameless thing? Renyao expressed that she was very angry, she couldn't accept such humiliation. Thus, Renyao suddenly stood up, I'm going to use my fist, to let you know. Me. Renyao. No. Right after the word no was said, Renyao disappeared. Yizizi waved her fist. This person is truly asking for a beating, to actually play deep with us. Boom. A loud sound suddenly burst out, and the mountains at the side could be seen instantly collapsing. After a long time, the mountains finally calmed down, and Renyao laid within the ruins blankly. What happened just now? Sneak attack. That hateful little girl actually sneak attacked me. I, Renyao, want to let her know how terrible the consequences of sneak attacking me are. I'll blow your head apart with a single punch. Renyao's body immediately rushed over. Her speed was so fast that it actually created a sonic boom at the bottom of the sea. The scene could be said to be spectacular. Yizizi snorted, to actually compete with my fist, even his honor doesn't know how to do it. Yizizi didn't cower in the slightest, her small body rushed over, and just like that, her embroidered big fist smashed onto Yizizi. The 2 fists collided into each other at the bottom of the sea. There was a loud bang. The entire underwater world seemed to have quietened down. However, a ferocious wave of air immediately spread outwards, and the center of the explosion was flattened. However, this wave of air attacked towards Water City, and its aura didn't weaken at all. However, this was merely the wave of air that was created when the two fists collided. On top of Water City's wall. "It's coming," Bao Xi said gravely. "Activate the shield." Pai Liangjun shouted out lightly. The three overlords began forming hand seals, and the moves that they used were ever-changing. Afterward, the three overlords shouted out in unison, "Heavenly sealing ghost art, defense." A golden figure could be seen condensing on top of the city wall, and the figure was flickering. Looking at the wave of air that was coming towards them from afar, the three overlords were very astonished. That abyssal wave was actually so powerful, seems like we have still underestimated it. Fortunately, we ran away quickly, if not, we would definitely have died. Kong Feiqing still had lingering fear in his heart. "That's right, this kind of attack is too powerful," Bao Xi said in a low voice. "To actually attack with pressure, the attack is indeed ferocious." Pai Liangjun let out a breath. "Fortunately, we have a countermeasure, but what should we do when the wave of air attacks us? Then, we can only fight with our backs against the wall." Bao Xi's gaze became focused. "In that case, we can only use our trump card." Pai Liangjun and Kong Feiqing nodded their heads. "This is the only way." In a blink of an eye, the terrifying wave of air fiercely collided onto the city wall, and the golden light on the city wall illuminated the entire underwater world. A surging power spread out from the city wall, and the city wall actually managed to withstand the ferocious wave of air. However, the golden light on the city wall became much dimmer, and it was clear that the city wall wouldn't be able to withstand the next attack. One must know that this was a technique that three overlords worked together to unleash. However, they didn't expect that this was just the wave of air that exploded out from the clash of fists, and it wasn't an attack at all. If they were to know about this, they would definitely cry until they fainted in the toilet. At the scene, Yi Zizi held her breath, and then, Ren Yao disappeared again. In actuality, it wasn't that Ren Yao wasn't strong, a portion of her strength was stored within that eye, and in the end, that eye was crushed by me. If not, how could she have ended up in such a sorry state? However, from this point, it could be seen that this Ren Yao was indeed very strong. After all, she was still able to stand up under Yi Zizi's fists. If it was someone else, that person would have been beaten to death long ago. How terrifying! However, the current Ren Yao wasn't calm at all. Lying on the huge crater, while looking at the little girl that was not far away, Ren Yao was endlessly shocked. End of this chapter. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.